But I need to tell you as a comedian, do not lose your sense of humor. You can have no idea at this point in your life how much you are going to need it to get through. Not enough of life makes sense for you to be able to survive it without humor. You gotta laugh. That is the one thing at the end of your life you will not wish you did less of. Humor is the most powerful, most survival, essential quality you will ever have or need to navigate through the human experience.
Some wise words there from Jerry Seinfeld speaking at the Duke University commencement, giving a life lesson on humor. Meantime, dozens of graduates had staged a walkout at the Durham, North Carolina ceremony just before the comedian, who's Jewish and a vocal supporter of Israel, began speaking. The graduates walking out amid a mix of boos and cheers as Seinfeld was introduced.
Seinfeld, whose children attended Duke, went on to accept an honorary degree and deliver his speech before the roughly 7,000 attendees without interruption. I want to bring in now Tudor Dixon, the host of the Tudor Dixon podcast, Rich Nichols, a Democrat political strategist, and Gerard Fillety, back with us, senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Good to see everyone here. Tudor, can we start with you? Several of the graduates who were walking out were seen holding Palestinian flags. Seinfeld, as I'm sure you know, has been in the news as of late over his strong support for Israel, so that's why you may have seen a lot of them protesting, Seinfeld speaking. Here's a quick clip of the walkout. Watch this.
Big deal about our commencement speaker?
It's just hard to imagine. You 4 years, maybe longer, and the culmination ending in a commencement. Some campuses don't even have a commencement to go to. These guys did. Still interrupted. Tudor, what are your thoughts? How would you have covered on your podcast?
Well, of course, these people had some folks that came and influenced them and convinced them to do this. But as you said, it was just a few. It was not many people. And if you are going to really break this down, Jerry Seinfeld is not a politician. He's not a political figure. This is pure and horrible hatred of Jews. This is anti-Semitism at its worst. I mean, there's no other way to break this down than they chose to look at the person who was giving the commencement speech, and they said, this is a Jewish individual. I hate this person. I hate Jews, and I'm going to walk out. Good riddance. They don't deserve any attention at all. The ceremony went off with most people cheering and cheering his name. Yeah. There was a chant of his name, which I loved, and he did a great job talking about the realities of life.
It wasn't just his advice on keeping your life humorous and being okay with laughing in life. He also offered this dig at Harvard University during the speech. In case you missed it, here's that moment.
So on my staff in the 90s, we had a lot of Harvard guys. They were fantastic, but I could never understand why these guys were so embarrassed about being from Harvard. They would never talk about it. They would never mention it. I'm not talking about Harvard now. I'm talking about the way it used to be. You're never going to believe this. Harvard used to be a great place to go to school. Now it's Duke.
We get it. The little rivalry you got going on between major schools, Rich. But this time there is a different viewpoint. You've got all the issues with the Harvard administration, the president stepping down recently in light of the protests we've seen on campus and what was allowed to transpire. How are you viewing his message to those recent grads and, of course, all of us who are listening in?
Well, I think we all have to take a step back a little bit and recognize that this is still America, and we are all entitled to free speech and to demonstrate peacefully. So I really don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, if people want to understand what real student protests look like, go to YouTube and dial in 1968 and take a look at that footage. Those were real student protests which fomented violence and death at Kent State. So, Jerry Seinfeld, anybody else has the right to say what he wants to say at a commencement address, and the students have the right to do what they want to do. If they don't want to hear it, they can get up and walk out, and that's fine. That's commencement. That's the beginning of their lives in the real world. You have the right to do what you want to do in America, and we all need to go to the polls and make sure that we protect that right in November.